I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Give me a roll call, please.
President Gardner,
Present.
Vice President Dobler,
Present.
Commissioner Scholar,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Present.
Commissioner Lasanti,
Present.
Solicitor Lavaca,
Present.
Manager Patterson.
Not present.
What's the latest on her?
We hear that she may be.
Possibly Monday.
I forgot to send you that.
Dependent upon a meeting on Thursday.
And I-
First order of business is approval of minutes of July 20th, 2015. That's a legislative meeting. Need a motion to approve.
I had only just a typographical point to point out. At the end, you said something about vice president, and you left out my name, Vice President
By
Dobler. Is either seconded George's motion to adjourn, or
Yep, I see it.
You left your name.
it's offensive.
I can't believe it.
It's offensive.
Do you want, excuse me, I have one too then.
Okay,
I understand that this August 18th is not the date for this get together.
with Judy's.
Yeah,
Kim, do you have any confirmation of that?
No, that was the date that she said during the meeting, or somebody said during the meeting, but I wasn't sure if that wasn't confirmed. So I did put the date in, but.
I know.
Do you want Kim to contact her
find out
instead of
for
you?
Yeah,
Please.
Could you contact her and
Was
find out?
that an agreeable date or?
I think it is not,
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh,
not?
not,
but
okay.
I'd like
Okay,
Judy to answer that.
okay.
Yeah, so I think the minutes should not reflect
Okay,
that date.
I'll put a, a future date, not.
Yeah.
Specific.
Other than that, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I don't remember. What?
Well, I make that motion.
Okay,
I
Second.
Or
Oh.
two.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is presentation of 214 audit by Mark Turnley.
Would you pass that, Kim?
It's that time of the year. When you were just here yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Board members, in paperclip to the audit report of two pieces of correspondence. I'll just touch on those briefly first.
Could we try something? Could you shift over there so our audience can, and will that be on? If he stands there, will that be on? Yeah, I think so. Okay, just so everybody can hear.
The two pieces of correspondence both dated for July 27th. The first one, one of the first bullet points says significant audit findings. This is a required communication in our profession at the conclusion of the audit engagement. And basically the purpose of this is to inform the board of any ancillary issues that we had in performing the audit other than just coming up with the financial numbers. In other words, do we have any disagreements with management? Do we have any trouble dealing with management and trying to obtain the numbers to do the audit? Do we have to go out and get a second opinion from another auditor because there were contentious issues related to the audit? And as you read through that report, you will see it's pretty much vanilla, pretty much what we issued to most of our clients. There were no issues in dealing with management that we came across in order to perform our responsibilities under the audit engagement. So once again, a required letter to the board, but I just wanted you to know that it exists and there were no issues in trying to obtain the information to perform the audit. The second piece of information is our management letter that we issue to the township on an annual basis, where we have some findings and recommendations I'll just talk about some of these briefly. External financial statement preparation, because be able to do this thing before, then it's considered a weakness in internal control. It doesn't mean that there's anything necessarily wrong in-house. It's just that you don't have somebody that does this type of work on staff. So we have to report to you that we actually prepare these financial statements from information provided us by Gwen and Kim during the course of the audit engagement.
So that does not, that passes muster, because at the authority, we were told that we had to have an independent CPA do that for us.
If you have an independent CPA, and I'll give you a few examples, if you have an independent CPA do that for you, then this comment goes away. If you don't have an independent CPA, which you don't,
Yeah.
then the comment stays.
Okay, I understand that, but it doesn't, what I'm getting at, that is not a detailed requirement and a must within an audit. So you can just say that you're doing that and that's kosher.
Well, I'm saying that I assisted you with the preparation
I understand what you're saying.
in working with Gwen. There's what's called a client representation letter at the conclusion of the audit. You actually sign, the township signs saying that you accept responsibility for the information in this report.
Yeah.
And that you recognize that as the auditor, I'm assisting you with the preparation. As long as you're willing to sign off on that, then I can do that.
Okay, no, I'm with you. Okay, thank you. That clears it up for me.
Just to give you, just to mention something along those lines, I do have a couple clients, and I do this with, there are a couple CPA firms out there where we share clients. They come in and do the work that I'm talking about before I get in the door and I do the audit. That keeps it kind of an independent.
That's what I thought we had to do.
Exactly. Well, what happens when that happens, this comment goes away.
Obviously.
Right. In other instances, it's on the other foot. I go into a client and I'll do the write-up work. So just a matter of how you get it. On the second page, once again, this is just information. Because you are full accrual in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles, once again, this is a procedure that we perform from information provided us by Gwen, but it's actually something we always recommend that the township do, and that's keep track of your fixed assets and depreciation schedule for information disclosed in the audit report. We've continued to assist Gwen with that over the years, but our recommendation has always been for her to take that over and do it herself so that we remain independent of the process. This is somewhat of a similar comment to the first comment I made, all about keeping the auditor independent from the overall process. A couple other comments after that. Township policies. I've had this in the last couple of years, just once again recommending the township, if you have any of these situations, anything related to financial matters that the township deals with, whether it's credit cards, cell phones, whistleblower policy, things of those nature, I always recommend to my client that they have a policy to cover that on hand.
But we've done some of these
Yeah, we
since
have.
last year.
And that's why I put if you haven't already done so.
Have you looked at the policies that we put in place?
The ones that Gwen has prepared, yeah.
So which ones have you seen?
I gave her I believe a credit card policy.
Right.
And I think I gave her a whistleblower policy. Those are the two that come to mind off the top of my head.
How about travel and reimbursement? Did we do that one?
That I don't remember giving, that doesn't mean that I did, but I don't remember giving that to Gwen. But I'll check the ones that I gave her.
Well, but
This is just for the board to consider. If you don't have any certain of these, then it's just a recommendation that you consider adopting. And some of these I have, like boilerplates from other clients that have adopted them.
no, but we have it. We did we did actually adopt some of these. We by motion and second, we adopted some of these policies. Some I think she got from you and some she didn't. But is it not part of your audit to look and see which one of those exists?
This is just a general comment to review your, on an annual basis. If you notice, I'm saying to review all of your policies
Okay.
in case there's changes in personnel. Sometimes you'll adopt a policy and it relates to what you have on staff at that particular time. What I'm saying is, first of all, if you have a policy, if you don't have a policy, adopt a policy. And if you have a policy, review them on an annual basis.
My thought last year was that we were going to eliminate some of these management recommendations this year. But that's not the
This
case.
is
They're
this.
gonna come up every year whether we adopt those policies or not.
No, if you adopt the policies and don't want the reminder to review them each year, this is, once again, I can take that out of there so that you can say, okay, we check this off, we check this off, we check this off. As long as you're saying to me, Mark, we review those annually, the board goes over those policies and we make sure that circumstances have not changed, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that, yeah, I'm good with that. But no, this is not a weakness in internal control. These are just reminders to the board to look at your policies annually, and if you don't have any of these particular policies, then to adopt them. And I understand that you have to adopt some of these policies.
I think the majority of those were adopted in 215, so they wouldn't show in the 214 on it.
That's maybe true.
But we should check. We will check.
Okay.
But as you say, I can remove them as you go along, as long as they're being, everybody's on board with it.
Yep.
Because that's okay with me.
Are you gonna follow on that? then?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead.
On the last page, bank reconciliation, your main general fund account, we usually prepare the reconciliation on an annual basis to agree to your internal records, to your general ledger. This is a comment that we made in prior years. This is something that you should be doing internally. It's not that your bank amounts aren't being tracked, but I believe Gwen tracks them manually, kind of off the ledger, as we like to say, on how much cash he has at any particular time. When we do the audit, there's no formal bank reconciliation available for us to review and agree to the general ledger. So we end up preparing that reconciliation on an annual basis, and we're making a comment, something that should be done in-house before the audit process begins.
Kim, is that consistent with what you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
The financial.
I will check with that also.
George, is that surprising to you?
A little bit.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I think we have. I would imagine.
I'll check with Gwen on that also.
Imagine we do.
I would imagine we do as well.
I have
We have
a
a
copy
treasurer
of
and
that,
everything else.
the reconciliation that we do, yours in case you need to see where we're coming up with that.
Okay.
But to our knowledge, there's no
Okay.
formal that we audit from. We actually prepare that and make adjusting journal entries to the cash account to make sure that it agrees to our reconciliation on an annual basis.
Okay. I'll check with Gwen when she comes back.
A bank reconciliation is never being performed?
It's not being performed for your general cash account with PNC.
On a monthly basis.
Ever? On a month, only on a monthly basis? You're not saying it needs to be done daily. You're saying it needs to be done
It should be
monthly.
done monthly.
Right, okay.
Our concern is at the end of the year, at 12/31/14, it should be being done monthly for internal control purposes. But when we come in to do the audit, we actually end up doing the reconciliation. Now, if I'm correct in this, and I'm pretty sure I am, Gwen tracks your cash to make sure how much she has in the bank at any particular time. She has sheets that kind of follow her tracking of her cash, but she doesn't do a formal reconciliation that takes the bank balance
Right.
and subtracts off outstanding checks.
Gotcha. I got you.
And then agrees that to the general ledger. That's something we've been doing over the last couple of years.
Is the township treasurer involved in that?
I think so.
Don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Because she reports the balances. So
You'd have to-
one of the others should be doing the reconciliation.
Yes.
Okay.
And lastly, Governmental Accounting Standards Board, 2 new statements came out that are actually effective. If you have a defined benefit pension plan, you're required to have an actuarial valuation done to determine what your pension liability is from an actuarial perspective based on life expectancies and other factors. And this is something that's new for, not just for the township, but all municipalities that have defined benefit plans starting in 2015. And because you go to the trouble of having what I call GASB compliant, a GAAP compliant audit, where you do the full accrual basis of accounting, in order to continue to do that and for us to issue an unqualified opinion, you have to determine that liability has to be on the books if there is a liability. But that's usually something that an actuary, similar who does your actuarial plan for your pension plans, has to do that calculation. So I have no idea what that liability is going to be, but it's a liability that has to show on your balance sheet under the full accrual basis of accounting.
So an underfunded pension must be documented.
Do we have
Well,
a
there's
defined
the-
benefit pension plan? It's not my understanding that we do.
Two.
Huh?
Two. We have two pension plans,
Defined benefit.
yes. But
My understanding is a defined contribution plan. There are two very distinct things.
They're very different.
yeah, but I don't think the police is defined contribution.
So
Yeah.
the police may be right.
Yeah, we don't have any police.
The police pension plan is defined benefit. That's
Yeah.
defined benefit.
That's the one I think.
Okay,
And there's
Yes,
schedules
you
in
guys
the,
get rid of.
in the audit report. The non-uniform pension plan is what's known as the defined contribution
I
plan.
understand all that.
And that new GASB, that GASB 68 does not apply to that.
I understand all that.
So anyway, that's what I'm just mentioning to the members of the board is those statements, if applicable to the police pension plan, there may be a liability that needs to be recorded for the year ended December 31st, 2015.
You guys could get that.
Any questions on these two letters? With regard to the audit report, I'll just go over some of the brief highlights of it. And once again, it's a thick report, so I'll just touch on some of the parts of financial information. In the beginning of the audit report, on pages 1 and 2, Roman numeral pages 1 and 2, is our independent auditor's opinion. We've issued, again, what is known as an unmodified opinion, which basically says that the financial information contained in the report is in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles, and there are no departures from those principles. In a layman's terms, that's the type of opinion you want to have. That's a good thing. Following that is the required management discussion and analysis, which starts on Roman numeral page 3. Technically, and runs through page 13. Technically, that section of the audit report is not audited. That's something that's prepared by management for inclusion in the audit report. The purpose of that MD&A, which came out about 10 years ago for governmental entities, is to have a reader be able to look at that section of the audit report, read that information, and tell how the township did for the year, calendar year 2014, and also show comparative information between 14 and 13, and explain any reasons for any increases or decreases between the 2 years, and provide any additional information that may be pertinent to the general public in trying to describe the activities of the township for the year. Once again, we look at the information that Gwen includes in there. We provide her the information from the audited numbers so she can complete certain sections of this. We help her with this. But if there's any wording with regard to why things changed up or down, we rely on Gwen to do that. This is what's known as an unaudited document, but nevertheless, it's required to be included in the body of the audit report. Subsequent to the management discussion and analysis are the financial statements. I'll just go to a couple pages in the financial statements, just to certain highlighted pages to go over. If you look at page 3, which is Exhibit C, as in Charlie, you'll see the balance sheet, if you will, as of December 31st, 2014, for all of the funds for the township. Most important is the general fund, first column. And if you look down at the very bottom, you're going to see the total fund balance that the township ended up with the year is $1,256,495. You'll see the increase in that in a minute from the previous year. Just to put that in perspective, if you look at the line right up above that, you'll see that the fund balance is broken down into a couple of categories, which is required under the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. One of those categories, unassigned, that represents approximately, when you measure that against your budget, that's approximately 94% of your budget, which obviously is a good reserve to have for your general fund. In the world of school districts, just to give you a feel, they talk about a fund balance as a percentage of your budget. And the state auditors, when they come in and do those audits, they look at a prudent fund balance anywhere between 5 and 15% of their budget. But it all depends on the liquidity needs of the individual entity. In your particular case, I'm just throwing that percentage out just so you understand what your reserve is in the general fund compared to your budget, approximately 93-94%. Going left to right, obviously these are the other funds of the township: capital improvements fund, debt service fund, construction fund. The non-major funds, they're scheduled these in the back of the audit report. These is your liquid fuels fund, the highway aid monies that you get from the state on an annual basis. And you have a infrastructure fund, what was known as an infrastructure fund. This year you transferred $100,000 out of that, was for sewer maintenance. And that came into the general fund, I believe, to pay for the Act 537 fees that go to the borough of Sewickley on an annual basis. So those are the two smaller funds of the township that nevertheless need to be disclosed in the body of the audit report.
The total fund balance, you say, is 1,000,002. Resources 1,000,003. Does it have to be that high? Is that recommended? Why have it that high?
You don't have to have it that high. That's just something that has happened over the years with regard to the township. There's no right or wrong answer to that. That's a high fund balance. I mean, we do a number of municipalities. We do about 30 municipalities, but usually it depends. Your situation may be different. I don't want to pretend to know that the future of Aleppo Township, but if you have certain capital expenditures that you need to make down the road and you don't have money set aside for those capital projects, then having this type of fund balance may not be a bad thing. I have certain municipalities that have a low fund balance, but they also have, alongside of that, they have capital reserve funds for capital projects that may be high. So it's all a matter on where you show the funds. So it's.
Well, as an example, the study that the engineer is doing to determine our public works needs over the next 5 years more than likely will draw down that general fund and put it into a capital reserve.
Right. Once we have that number.
Yes.
So once you have a number, you move it over to the
We do have anticipated capital projects.
Really, but
And
that's
the board, it's something to consider. GASB 54, and I won't bore you with the details of that. The board is allowed to assign or commit a portion of their, if you notice here, you have an unassigned fund balance of $1,084,000. In the audit report, well, this particular, after the end of the year, you can't do this, but you can assign funds for a particular purpose so that you lower your unassigned fund balance, so that percentage does not appear to be so high. And that's a prudent way to set money aside for capital projects. So it's up to the board to do that. Once again, I have municipalities and school districts who will assign a good portion of their fund balance, and what's left, the unassigned portion, would reduce. Remember how I was talking about your fund balance as a percentage of your budget. When they're done assigning for various capital projects and needs, their unassigned fund balance may drop as low as 5%, 10%. It's all on how you want to present it. But you as a board have the ability to do that. If you turn to page 5, you'll see from a profit and loss statement, if you will, how the township did for the year once again in all your various funds. Probably the 3 most important lines on page 5 are the bottom 3 lines. And if you look at the general fund, for instance, you're going to see a figure net change in fund balance of $163,000 approximately. That's in the first column. So what that is saying is, on the modified accrual basis of accounting, your revenues exceeded your expenditures by that dollar amount. Capital Improvements Fund, there was a negative for the year, 91,924, but the bulk of that, if you notice, was a transfer out of that fund to the general fund to pay for capital projects that the general fund paid in advance. So you were drawing down on your capital improvement funds for that purpose, and you have 423,000 left at the end of the year. Now, you always have the option. I remember I was talking about assigning fund balance. You always have the option of physically transferring that money into the capital project fund if you want to get it out of the general fund, but you don't necessarily technically have to do that. You could, as I mentioned, assign or commit those monies, leave them in your general fund, but tell the taxpayers at the bottom that their fund balance is not all unassigned. Some of it is assigned for capital projects.
It's best to actually assign them.
Yeah.
When we know,
When you know.
and we'll know.
And when you assign, this is another important thing to remember, that there are 2 options you can do. You can either what's known as commit or assign a portion of your fund balance. In either case, you can change that amount to whatever. If a project changes in amount or scope, you're always able to change that. So it's not set in stone. If you say, hey, we need to commit $300,000 for a new roof, something to that effect. If that project does not take place and materialize, you're allowed to back off that assignment and change it to something else. So it's not set in stone. When you commit funds, when you go to the level of what's known committing the funds, there must be a formal resolution by the members of the board committing monies for a specific project. And that commitment must stay on the books until such time as the commissioners either follow through with that or they change their mind with regard they want to spend their money on. And if they change their mind, then that resolution has to be changed. That formal resolution has to be changed to whatever the new purpose of the spending is going to be.
The more flexible option is the assignment.
Yes. You see that you have your construction fund. Those monies are obviously tied up, restricted for construction fund purposes. And the non-major funds are the remaining monies in the liquid fuels fund and the infrastructure fund.
Were those construction funds the excess from the bond issue,
Yes,
which are gone?
by now. And
We used them as a down payment for the refunding.
Oh, okay. That happened in June.
Yep.
June for me. If you turn to page 7 is a required statement that compares the actual numbers for the year to the budgeted numbers. And, you know, in greater detail, I always tell my board schedules that are important to keep in mind that on this page, on page 7, are the budget versus actual in summary form. But if you were to hold on to this page, keep your finger on this page and turn in the back of the audit report on schedule 1, starting on page 27, you're going to see a detailed breakdown of what's in each of these particular line items. For instance, if you look on page 7, you see taxes, you see the budget amount of $755, and you see the actual of $822. When you go back to page 27, you're going to see those same 2 numbers, but the breakdown of what's in the taxes for the year. And the same goes for every other revenue of the township. And after that, every expenditure of the township for calendar year 2014. It's a good tool to use in the budgeting process when you're trying to compare how you did one year versus the next. The last statement that I wanted to go over was just the pension funds. Once again, the profit and loss statement, if you will, for the pension funds is on page 9. Once again, the 3 lines at the bottom, probably the most important on page 9. You see your police pension fund, the investments. You had a plus of $36,553 for the year for the police pension plan, which now you have $812,000 at the end of December 31st, 2014. And for the non-uniform plan, you see you have a decrease of $55,264. The bulk of that was some lump sum payments that were paid out of the pension, the non-uniform pension plan during calendar year 2014. Yeah, the remaining monies that are left, $65,000. The status of the pension plan is from your last actuarial report on page 35. We always talk about you have an unfunded liability, you're overfunded, underfunded, and this deals with, if you remember me talking about in my management letter, that GASB 68, the requirement for that GASB 68, which won't necessarily be this number, but it may be a number like this. If you look back there, you see that 1113, which was your latest available actuarial report, the actuarial value of assets 667 versus their accrued liability is 674. So underfunded by approximately only $7,000 at that particular time, when the actuary was done. The middle of the audit report contains the notes to the financial statements. That whole section explains to the readers of the financial statements, gives you a little bit more details about the assets, long-term assets, short-term assets, and the liabilities of the township, long and short-term, to the reader regarding your debt service obligations and things of that nature. It talks a little bit more about the pension plans in detail and other information with regard to the township. So if you get a chance to read those, I encourage you to do so. Other than that, those are the highlights.
Question, do you know why we haven't had an actuarial review since 13?
I do not. It's not that you haven't had one. Yours may be in process.
I think it is in process.
1/115. We have most of our municipalities, that 1/115 was not done at the time we left the thing.
I'm pretty sure it is in process.
It could be just getting available now. That'll be an updated number for next year.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions?
Quite good again.
A lot of good
Very clear.
information. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to get back to you with the real estate tax question with regard to.
I think I know it, but
Okay, well, I'll verify just to make
the
sure.
discussion was for everybody, when we decreased the millage from 4 to 3.5, that's in essence a 12.5% decrease. So I would have anticipated it, collections for 214 being slightly more than 12.5% less, if that made sense. And it appears it's due to uncollected real estate tax.
And I'm pretty sure that's the answer
Yeah.
to it, but I gotta double check that.
Good.
And Matt, if you want me to remove,
I don't want you to remove it. I just want to, I was under the mistaken impression that they were going to be marked as accomplished. But your point is well taken that they should stay on there because they're living things that we should be checking on an annual basis.
yeah.
Good.
And that's my point. That's what I'm trying. But as a checkoff, matter of checkoff, you're correct. We can remove them as long as they're continually being reviewed and updated as necessary.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
So is this final now? Are we adopting this? Is this public? What is the status of this document? at this point?
I think we do it at the legislative.
We're going to vote on this, the legislative, vote to adopt this, the
We'd
legislative.
I
accept,
believe so.
I think we ought to accept it.
Okay.
The final one, once the board approves this and says, Mark, it's good to go, then we'll put it in our fancy covers as we always do and give it to the board. But as of now, it's not, it's just draft. It's waiting for
Right.
you to say it's good.
A little caveat, Matt, I'd like to sit down with Gwen before we formally approve it, so I'm hoping she's back. Just to go over a couple little details.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. All right, next on the agenda, discussion of Staples/O'Neill subdivision application. Who wants to take that? Where is it?
I was at that meeting, and it's a simple subdivision. Mr. O'Neill wants to purchase 6 acres off of Mr. Staple just to create a buffer if Mr. Staple sells the rest of his property to a land developer, which are 30-some odd acres. So he just wants to create a buffer. Ben approved the application. He had 3 little issues. They had to put the address on. There were 3 small issues, but the board did approve it to be sent here.
Planning board,
Yeah, they voted to approve
okay.
or recommend approval.
Yes.
So do we have to take any action on that? Next,
Next week, we can, you could either, it has to go, the application has to go to the county and they'll have 30 days to provide their comments. So we can do it one or two ways. Harley will be here next week. You said you could vote next week to approve it, subject to any comments from the county, or you could wait till the following meeting until we get the comments from the county
Mhm.
and see what those are and vote at that time. We have 90 days to approve from the last meeting before it's deemed approved.
Is this the actual application here?
That's the map.
Can I see that?
You have the application in your packet, but I didn't have enough. maps.
All I had was Ben's letter in my packet.
Yes,
There's-
and that's all, that and this,
Did I have that? I didn't,
Yes, you
okay,
should have.
all right, I'll look it back.
but not the map.
Thank you.
okay. McCoy and South McCoy Place Road meeting. Was there such a meeting?
Not yet. Now, did you, you got my
I
email,
have your email.
and I hope you took liberties to,
Gwen and I have discussed setting a meeting. You did put August 26th as the date. So I haven't talked to Gwen yet about that, but.
it's a Wednesday
It's a Wednesday evening.
at 8 o'clock.
Which date? August 26th?
Not at 8 o'clock,
7
7
o'clock,
o'clock. 7 o'clock. And, I mean, I don't know how that sounded, so,
Oh,
so
I
you want to read to them, like, this is,
yeah, I can make copies for everybody, or I can, do you want to read the whole thing?
just read it. I mean, this is a letter that will go to the residents.
Was as a result of numerous issues regarding sharing the same address, we have decided to invite you to a town hall meeting at the Aleppo Township Building. Together, we will attempt to solve the various problems that have resulted with shared street addresses. It is necessary to make changes in these addresses before an emergency happens and the fire truck or ambulance goes to the wrong house and serious consequences happen. Please join us in this meeting and bring thoughts and ideas to share. The meeting will be August 26th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
See how nice that was, Tony?
The meeting may not be so nice.
Well, they're already lobbying.
I
They're
know.
already lobbying.
You'll come back to my position. That's all it is.
It's McCoy Place is lobbying, all the residents.
I'm sure.
Lobbying
With
who?
solutions.
They're lobbying who?
Well, there were other residents to agree with them because,
They want to leave it as it is. Is that-
no, they don't want to leave it like it is. They want South McCoy to change,
That's right.
of course.
Absolutely.
So I just said, bring your solutions,
Mhm.
and the one that gets the most votes wins.
How many total residents on each road?
I know, said that. I think
I
it's
think it's
30.
42. I think 42 total, but only 9 and 9 share the numbers.
Yes, some of the numbers are not shared, right?
So there's only 18
I'm
folks
almost
impacted.
positive.
What I do need is from Harlan or you, Chris, what happens when the change occurs? I need to be, and Harlan knows this.
Right, yeah, we discussed.
You know,
that.
what is the procedure? What do we do?
I'm a little bit concerned about doing it just on a vote basis, because I think somebody in the minority there might be severely injured by the decision, and I just think that might be unfair.
Well, we're not gonna do it. It's gonna be this board's, we've said a couple times, this board is gonna make the decision. So you can be influenced however you want to be influenced in your vote. You can be influenced by a majority, or you can be swayed by a vocal minority, but it's gonna be up to us.
Good. Okay,
Can I go back to this subdivision and ask this tower that's on the affected property? What is that tower?
They did discuss that, and I
Yeah.
believe it was a cell phone tower.
I believe it's a cell phone tower. I think it's owned by the cell phone company,
Okay.
and there is an easement. I think that was one of the issues with the
In
application.
Ben's letter?
Yeah, the easement wasn't shown on the application, so the updated application will show the easement. But I believe they said it was owned by the cell phone company, so it's not really something that's gonna be affected by this.
I don't even know where it is. Where is it?
It's up
In
off
the Heights?
Hill Road.
And there's no development or anything, it's just simply creating that buffer to protect against, in case there's future development.
Future development.
Well, who's gonna want to develop where there's a cell phone tower anyhow, right? Okay.
okay. Unfinished business, what do we have? Anything?
I have one. The paving contract is complete. The engineer will be here next month with all the documents to close that contract out. I think everybody's happy with the way it went. And so we've asked the engineer to come with all the documents necessary to finalize.
This is the 2014 contract that got carried over?
14 and 215, yes.
Okay.
That's the
This is
total.
El Grande.
El Dorando's contract, right, thank you, Pat. That's exactly what it is. And it is completed. And it's been inspected by Tom Jerry and I did too. By the way, I encourage you all to go down and look at Overland. This township spent a great deal of money on that. And it's quite a road.
It is a nice road.
It's quite a road.
We're gonna rent all sorts of property now.
What'd you say?
I'm gonna say we're gonna rent or sell all sorts of
Well,
property
here's my
along.
point. I think we should try to get a little PR on it. Have a dedication, the
I mean, the local newspaper.
Which one?
Over
Okay, and over.
into the,
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
remember we juiced it up? and we-
Yeah.
I think we ought to invite the developer and us to cut a ribbon or something. Seriously.
I'm not opposed to it.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to fill that the commercial park, and we're not doing a very good job.
Right,
And
no, I agree.
So whatever we can do, it's fine. And
Might even get our name in the local paper for once.
well, you may, good. And I must tell you, that road probably cost us more per square yard than any road you put in because of all the additions we had to make to handle that heavy truck traffic. So anyway, it's done. I think we ought to try to get some PR, and the engineer will be here next week to give us the final on that. And we've also asked them to tell us where they stand on the
Study, mapping and study.
And they've gone around with Tom, and they'll have a feel for that. So that's the public work.
Great. It's nice to hear you talking about something other than water for a change.
Yeah, well, you guys make me worry about roads now.
Boy, I continue to be impressed though by the condition of our roads versus any other township around here. I think we're in much better shape than.
Oh, the Sewickley Heights Road.
Sewickley.
Wow.
Sewickley Heights, I just drove down that road Sunday. They have strips that are
Oh,
repaved.
it's, I know, horrible.
Well, okay, would you
I think.
progress that?
Pardon
Could you progress that? I'd like to see a celebration of some kind.
Well, I guess I'll wait till Gwen gets back.
Yeah.
The ball should be in her court and invite them. And we could get the contractor to spring through a ribbon or something.
Hire a PR firm to set it up for you.
We got a PR. Okay, that's all I have on that.
Okay.
I just have a quick question regarding the subdivision. For next week's agenda, do you want a motion to approve with the contingencies or a motion to approve after the county?
I personally would wait until after the
I would as
county.
well. There's no time crunch, right?
No, we have 90 days from the last meeting.
Yeah,
so
me
And
too.
they're not in a rush. Our residents aren't.
I don't believe so.
And the county is obligated to turn it in 30 days?
Yes, or if they don't
Wait.
come back in 30 days, then.
So there's no motion involved.
Wait.
Okay, thank you.
That all unfinished business, new business. Anybody?
Well, I have new business for you.
Okay.
At the July meeting, commissioners passed the motion to reduce the debt service for all sewer customers in the amount of $4 per EDU per month. And the authority on Tuesday will implement that by notifying all of the sewer customers that effective in their September bill, that their bill will show a reduction of $4 in debt service per EDU per customer. So that means that all the residents will see a $4.
All except in the Masonic Village.
Pardon me?
All except in the Masonic Village. We don't know what they're gonna do for us,
Well,
right?
I'm telling you what Masonic Village will get.
The village will get it, but we don't know if the residents will benefit.
But we will let the village people know.
Yeah.
How much it can be.
Do you have a number that,
Well, yeah, if you take $4 times 432 EDUs, so that's so much 16.
17.
$700 a month? Yeah. Which represents about 40% of this thing. So their reduction, well, their fees are about 41%. So the reduction is 41%. And commercial will also see a reduction. Each commercial is now, the way that KLH set up, each commercial is equivalent to 3 EDUs. So each commercial will have a reduction also.
okay,
So anyway.
Good.
So that's why it was based on EDUs, so it's spread based upon the way.
a lot of good work went into that.
Well, a lot of good work by everybody involved with the refinance. That's a big deal. People just don't understand how big that is a deal. They look at the $4, but you know, when you say $1.6 million out of an $8 million bond issue, that is a big deal. So,
Well, look at the audit report for 2000, well, not for 2014, but for total, there's a debt service line item of $400,000.
Actually, that's not, I think you were reading that wrong.
I think it should be publicized.
Right.
think it's a total.
After speaking to Gwen or Harlan, there may have to be an ordinance set first.
Yeah.
So we'll check with Harlan tomorrow.
That will be done as a result of the authority meeting.
Okay.
To reduce the debt service?
Other page, yeah.
Okay. I'm almost positive it was Gwen or Harlan.
We did it on all rates.
Okay, so we can do that next week
Oh, it could be done.
at the legislative, good.
The authority plans to do it. The commissioners have authorized it, so the authority will implement it. So Harlan can get ready to do that. Okay?
Yep.
At this coming Tuesday's meeting, or next Tuesday. Okay?
Okay,
That's all I have.
okay. I have one item. The Masonic Village is building a gazebo with money donated by a family that used to. It's going to be built, or it's under construction near the swimming pool area. My question is, was there ever a building permit requested, or is one required for a gazebo?
And I didn't get an answer yet today. Jeff.
Any off the cuff opinions on that? Is that how small?
It probably would be,
So I think if you're putting in footings,
yeah.
which can't imagine you're building a gazebo and they're not putting in a footing.
It's already under construction.
I don't know whether they did or
Well, then I'm-
didn't.
When I put in a deck, I had to,
Yeah,
if I had footers, I had to.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine a gazebo is any different. Now, my deck, I guess, is theoretically attached to a dwelling structure. That could make a difference.
Well, we'll follow through on this, and we'll need a building permit. They'll have to apply for a building permit. It's going to be after the fact, but I'd like to see it follow everything, follow the rules.
Jeff comes in Wednesday mornings, so I'm not here tomorrow, but we'll have an answer for sure by Wednesday.
Okay. Anything else? New business?
You'll take care of that, Mr. Chairman, right?
Yeah, I'll follow through with it.
I don't want to get.
I don't care if the village gets mad at me. Citizen participation. You citizens know the rules. Shaking their heads no.
I don't think you want to hear what I got to say.
As long as it's not about cats.
Don't tell us about your dogs.
Is there any development on the cat issue? Did anybody do anything this month on that?
Yes. I talked to Judy. They are feral. Therefore, there's very little that you can do. Kim is going to call either Animal Rescue or the other. There are grants where some organization, I believe it's Animal Rescue, will come in, trap them, neuter them,
They have,
mark their ears,
oh,
and bring them back.
I understand they're already spayed or neutered, but
Well, if they are, they are.
Yeah.
But theoretically, then that prevents them from breeding and becoming more.
yeah, we don't need more.
But conjecture is it may not be as impactful as we would like because other cats will come.
Oh,
Once the colonies develop, they kind of find each other. But apparently that's the only thing that can be done. So Kim is going to call to get the details, but that was Judy's. And we've talked to Chief, we've talked to Health, and apparently that's the only thing that can be done. And a citizen could call the organization just as easily as we could, but we'll take responsibility for it as a township.
okay,
What do you do?
I'm open to a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's my boy. It is.